Epic Gaming Night is made possible by the support of patrons like you. Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night podcast, a podcast about the stories and relationships board games create. I'm your host, Roy Candy, and with me as always is Matt.
Hi.
And Rob.
Hello, hello.
And today we have a special guest with us, Emerson Matsuchi. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hi. I think this is Emerson's third time on the show, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah,
Always the show.
So yeah, if people don't know who you are, Emerson, can you give people a little bit of spiel of what you do?
A spiel. I like that. Okay. so my name's Emerson Matsuchi. I have designed a couple of games. So I've designed Spectre Ops, which it's very dear to my heart. My recent game that's going to be coming out is called Century Spice Road, and that'll be with Plan B Games, and that's going to be coming out in June 14th. That's going to be the official release. I do software development, and I do game design. I would say on the side, but that's actually taken up quite a bit of my livelihood time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like I'm doing 50-50 at the moment.
That's pretty epic.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's not a bad problem to have.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna drill you about all the awesome games that you have that are coming up here in a little bit. But since you've been on the podcast before, we're going to talk about the games we've been playing. So who wants to go first?
Boom.
Awesome.
All right,
Do it, Emerson. Make it happen.
Yeah.
All right. So I recently played a game that I thought was really, really good. It was called Orleans
Oh,
from
nice.
Tasty Minstrel Games. I thought that was fantastic. So I played that with a buddy of mine, and we both were just enamored with that game.
Nice.
So played some Tobago recently as well. Have you guys ever
I
played
haven't
Tobago?
ever heard of that
So
game.
it is. I feel like it's the most underrated family game. It's like the perfect family weight game. It's a ton of fun. It's very lighthearted, but yet there's like some interesting things you can do. It's a reverse deduction.
Oh, nice.
Each person's got a piece of a map, and you're putting, well, figuratively, each person's got a piece of a map that says, hey, it's within 2 spaces of a palm tree. So then and then another person will put down a piece that says, okay, well, it is not in the forest. So you eliminate all those options. And as you play these cards, it eliminates all the possible options until it gets to just one single point. And then it's a race to get there and dig up the treasure. And it's a ton of fun, but it is such an underrated game. It's a great game.
That's awesome. I've never heard of that. So it's like a hidden treasure in a specific space, basically, or that you're looking for?
It is. But the thing is, it is what the players determine it to be. So the players actually determine where it is by placing these clue cards down.
Gotcha.
And each clue will actually slowly narrow down where that treasure is. And then you have these little ATVs that will move around the board. And eventually you can get to the treasure to dig it up. And then everyone who's contributed to finding the treasure will get a piece of it. And it's got a really interesting way of divvying out the treasure. I highly recommend it for families.
That's awesome.
What ages would you say is a good age to start?
I think 8 and up, probably.
8 and up? Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Definitely
Yeah.
sounds pretty cool.
I'm always looking for good family games.
Yeah. I recently bought, but I haven't yet played it. My daughter's birthday was this past weekend. So I bought, it was called The Lion Guard Protect the Pride Lands.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I think I've seen that.
Yeah, and Tom Vassell reviewed it, and when he was explaining the game, it sounded super intriguing. So I bought it, and I was hoping to get a chance to play it. But when we're at a water park, the kids want to go in the water instead of play board games in the hotel room. I can't blame them.
Yeah.
I'd like to get that to the table.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think they had that like on clearance at Target or whatever, and I saw it and I was like, that looks interesting.
Yeah.
Because a Disney themed game or whatever. So
Pieces look really nice too.
cool. Well, we had International Tabletop Day, and I got to play a new game that I hadn't played before. I finally got a chance to play Assault of the Giants. This is a D&D themed WizKids game where it's like an area control game, but each player is a different like faction of giants that have like asymmetrical powers. The interesting thing about this game is that all the actions are based off of like a card mechanic. You have a hand of all these different actions that you can do, whether it be to move your guys or to attack or to gather resources or do a bunch of different things, try to like gain more magic cards. But the cool thing about this is you have the hand of cards and you're playing them down one at a time each time it's your turn, but a lot of the cards will like trigger off of how many cards you played before it. So like when you gather resources, you can normally gather 2 plus 1 for each card you've already played before it. So if you're like, okay, I move first and then I get magic and then so on and so forth, you can gain more resources by playing your resource card later. And also like your recruitment card where you get a bunch of guys out, you get more points to recruit guys if you play it later in the turn. So you have to figure out the order that you want to play these cards in because they have extra bonuses if you play them later. And then there's a rest card that lets you take all the cards back up into your hand so you can rinse and repeat. So if you want to move a whole lot, you could like move and then rest and then move and then rest. But then your move power isn't going to be as good because you get more moves the later you play it in the turn. So trying to figure out the correct order to play your stuff in is very important. There's also these rune resources you can get and a lot of events that come up that say, hey, if you're in this space with a rune, you can trigger this event and get so however many points for this different thing. Each faction has their own particular events they're trying to complete, so it's very asymmetrical in what you're trying to do. I was playing like the Frost Giants and I had to like go raid some villages and then try to like freeze the villages to get a bunch of extra points. There were just different people that were going around doing a lot of different things. So we had different objectives that weren't necessarily the same. But then there's also combat, which is based off of just attacking each other and then trying to get hits on dice. And then there's ways to manipulate those dice based on cards you've already played. You can get rerolls or you can play spells to make it so you get like extra hits or get extra dice. But it's a pretty fun, like basic area control game. I liked how asymmetrical all the giants were. And it's got like these big giant minis or whatever that you use for like your big, they're not your leaders, but like they're your main like big giants. And then like all the rest of the characters are little pogs, it was pretty cool. But yeah, have you guys heard of that game? Or are you interested in that at all?
Yeah, I've definitely heard of that game. It's I saw several reviews on it. It looks really interesting. I love the card play mechanic is what really piqued my interest in that game.
Yeah, I thought that was really
I
fun.
saw you playing it, and aesthetically it looks good. But I don't know, man. There's so many games constantly coming out. Like, if you would play it again, I'd probably put it to the table. But it's not something that I'm just like going out of my way wanting to play. But again, aesthetically, it looks real pretty. But
for me, it's like it was good. It was a solid game. It was awesome. But there are so many solid like area control games. And it's like when you put it up against like Blood Rage and Cry Havoc and Scythe and all these other games that have a little bit of the same similar feel, it's like how does this measure up to those? The combat was just like dice rolling and stuff. I mean, it had like different cards you could do to mitigate it. But when you've played different things like Cry Havoc, it's like, oh my gosh, the combat's so fun and stuff like that in games like that. But I enjoyed it. The points at the end were really weird. I didn't realize because there's like a pool of points and everybody's taking points from this pool. And when that empties out, then it triggers the end of the game, but then a whole bunch more points go back into that pool, and then you have to empty all of that out. And I didn't realize like how many points were going to go back into the pool. I thought the game was going to end, and I was like, yes, I'm doing like really good. And then tons more points went into the pool, and I had like wasted all the cards I wanted to play for my turn already. And I was just kind of like, well, I guess I just rest now. And then all the rest of the points ended, and I still got second, but I thought the game was going to end a little bit sooner than it did. And I'm just like, oh, the game's still going. A whole bunch more points went in there. We also played with 5 players, which is quite a bit. So there's a decent amount of downtime if you get into the higher player counts. but you also don't get to play all the different giant factions unless you play the full, I think, 6 players. And I don't think I would ever play this game 6 players because there'd just be a lot of sitting around waiting for your turn to come back around. But it was fun. I mean, it's solid, it's good, and it's definitely something to check out. But I don't know how it stacks up against the other area control games overall.
See, I think you just killed it for me, the sit down. And not that I'm going to talk about this as the game I recently played, but Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, that's one of the things that I liked about playing the demo copy is there really is no boring time. I mean, even though it's a 4X game, you're constantly engaged because you have the follow action and stuff like that. And so, I don't know how much more patience I'm going to have for games where it's just sit there and wait for my turn because other people weren't paying attention and now they want to think about everything. So
it's kind of interesting because as more and more games come out like in the exact same genre, it's really just like holding a magnifying glass to each of those games to figure out which one fits best. Like somebody could totally say Assault of the Giants, that's my favorite area control game because it's a good solid game. It's just like when I hold it up to all these other games that are similar, I'm just like, I don't need to have it on my shelf. So I've got all these other area control games I'd love to play. So, but yeah, it was fun.
Well, is it okay if I go next?
Your turn, Rob. Make it happen.
So we played a bunch of games. We played Strike. We played 5 Minute Dungeon. I taught people how to play Blood Rage. We played Deception, Murder in Hong Kong, which that's the game that I want to talk about. I want to do a quick side note of Blood Rage. First of all, we're coming for you. I understand your challenge.
Oh, Timothy?
Timothy, whatever his name is. I don't even know his name. That's how little he is for me. That's how non-existent he is. We're coming for you, Timothy, at Cool Mini or not.
Timothy Gay is this guy who's on the board game forum on Facebook, and he's known as like the Blood Rage like memer guy, and like he's all about Blood Rage. He's always talking about Blood Rage. If anybody posts anything about Blood Rage on Facebook, he comments on it always, every single time. And he's challenged us at Cool Mini or Not Expo. So he says he's going to take us down. So,
well, at International Tabletop Day, I signed up to be a GM and I taught some people how to play Blood Rage. And it was really funny because I was teaching 4 people and Kent Parker was one of the people. And it was creepy. Side note, Kent Parker is the Slender Man of fans. I did not realize who Kent Parker was until I realized who Kent Parker was. But I've seen Spider-Man. Kent Parker. Well, I've seen him around a lot. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, you are all over the place. I had no idea who you are. Do you guys know who Slender Man is? Like that crazy, creepy guy who's always in the back of pictures. So anyway, but Kent.
I'm sure Kent he's going to love you referring to him as that.
Well, here's the funny thing is after we got done playing the game, I was like, bro, you remind me of Slender Man. I actually told him that whole thing. I was like, let me tell you about this guy. It's kind of crazy. Anyway, I got the couple to get into a fight over Blood Rage over the draft because the girlfriend wasn't paying attention and the boyfriend was just wrecking everything she did. And it got to the point where everybody at the table felt really awkward. Like, please calm down. It's okay. We're just demoing a game. But she was like, God, well, I can't do this. And she threw her cards down. Well, I guess I can't do these. And I was like, okay, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Pick your cards up. So that was fun. But freaking Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. Unless this Crossfire game just comes out and blows me out of the water, which it probably will. Deception, Murder, and Hong Kong, man. What a fun social deduction game.
Yeah.
So crazy. And I love when you're the forensic scientist and people are saying the right answers, but you can't nod or say anything to it. Like we actually played with the largest group I've ever played with. I think we played with 11. There were 10 people, and then there was myself. And we played with a huge group. And the whole time, one of our buddies, JJ, was like, oh, I think it's this and this. I think it's this and this. And I'm like,
Yeah, like, immediately when we started playing, he accused me and our friend Joe of being the murderer and accomplice, and he immediately knew the correct card. Like, immediately.
Immediately. And he was like, I'm not going to guess it. I'm not going to guess it. I'm not going to guess it. And then it was it was so much fun, and Roy was doing a good job pushing people off. And Matt, one of the guys thought it was Matt because, I put down professional, and so I took away professional because they had uniform, and I was trying to bring it back. But that was just such a fun game, especially with big groups playing off of everybody. Deception Murder in Hong Kong, for those that don't know, it's a social deduction game where one person, or possibly more, because there can be an accomplice, are murderers, and everybody else are investigators and or a witness. And there's a forensic scientist, and the forensic scientist is giving out clues to be able to figure out who did what. The forensic scientist knows everything, but they can't emotionally, physically say anything with their face or anything like that. They can only answer questions with these clues that they give out. And so what I love about that is you can find out that Roy's the killer, which 9 times out of 10 he is. However, you now have to figure out how did Roy do it. And I love that combo. Love that combo. Such a fun game.
One of my favorite games ever is like when y'all knew it was me, you just couldn't figure out like the right cards that I did it with. And it was really fun because I was like, at a certain point, I just gave up on like saying it wasn't me. I was like, okay, yeah, I did it, fine. And then you guys are like, but which ones?
Yeah.
We have to pick the right ones. We only have 1 vote left. Have you played Deception Murder Hong Kong, Emerson?
Oh, yes. I really enjoy that game. It's an awesome game.
Yeah. It is a lot of fun. But so that was the game recently I talked about. Now I know we'll have plenty to talk about next week after this little expo.
But it takes more than 3 minutes, so there's that.
I know, that's what's intriguing. And like, we've talked to some of the Plaid Hat guys before. I remember, I don't know if it was last year or the year before last. I think it was the year before last. It was the year that Spectre Ops debuted. Emerson was demoing, which I would consider Crossfire, and it may be a different story, you can correct me, at Gen Con in a hotel room with all the Plaid Hat guys. And he's like, no, come on, let's sit down and play this. And I remember hearing Colby talk about it, and Alex and Isaac and Scott and them, and I was just like, man, this sounds kind of crazy. And so I'm excited to see it come to fruition, if it's that game.
Actually, if it was in a hotel room, it may be the other social deduction game.
Emerson's got 15 social deduction games.
It seems like
busy, man.
It's one of my favorite genres.
It was in a hotel room.
Yeah.
It's in a hotel room. Okay. So that one might be a different one. Crossfire was the one we actually played at a restaurant, and we played outdoors. And most of the time, because it's a pretty much a pub game, so you can actually play it standing up if you wanted to.
Nice.
So there's a small number of cards. So if it was in a hotel room, I think it might have been the other social deduction game. It's still being worked on at the moment.
Hey, I'll take anything you make.
Absolutely.
So Matt, what about you?
I played the game of competitive D&D character building called Role Player, and
nice, yeah.
It was
really want to hear
interesting.
About this game.
It's I really don't know how to describe it. Like, it's basically just a game about engine building, maybe, if that. Not even that, really. It's like you start the game, you pick your race, and your race has sort of predefined characteristics that you're shooting for, like any D&D race. But then you get dealt an alignment card, and then a class, and some sort of like background, and like you get a lot of different things that kind of contribute to your attributes. And it's just very, very interesting. At the start of the game, you roll 6 dice, I believe, and then you place the dice anywhere on your character sheet that you would like to. And the ultimate goal of the game is to try and accumulate the most points possible. And you get those by filling out certain attributes to a particular level that your class suggests, or getting your alignment to be close to where it needs to be, or doing some stuff for your backstory and all this other neat thing that typically comes in with dice or buying equipment and stuff like that. Is a very interesting game. It's pretty fun. It didn't take very long to play at all. I think maybe 25-30 minutes, and it was just roll dice, buy dice. Just, it goes pretty quickly. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
That's awesome. I know it's a really big game, like in the
sounds exciting.
Solo players guild. Like, 'cause there's a lot of people that actually like to play the game solo, which is kind of interesting. So I'm not sure how that works. If you're just like trying to get the best score after rolling the dice, or what the deal is.
You guys
One of the other things.
game
Oh,
that
good.
like playing solo?
I play occasionally. The main game that I like playing solo is the Arkham Horror LCG, and I would play that with more people. It's just I like it so much that like I'm willing to play it solo because I want to get through the story more, and it's cool because you get the whole deck building and story aspect in the game.
Right.
But
Cool.
I don't play a ton of games solo, so I feel like having a story with solo makes it a little bit more exciting, and deck building also helps too. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, do you dig into any solo games at all, Emerson?
Usually with board games, I think the only game I've played solo is Robinson Crusoe.
Oh, gotcha, awesome.
And not because I don't like to play with other people. No, I really enjoy playing the game. But it was one of those games that, like you said, I wanted to check out the other scenarios that are more difficult. And like it's one of those games I'm really enamored with.
Gotcha. That's awesome. So First Martian's going to be crazy when that comes out.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, I guess we can go ahead and get into our topic here. Well, I was actually going to tell a story about a couple game stores real quick. Because I had a really good experience at a game store and a really bad experience at a different game store. So which one do you guys think I should tell first?
The bad. Let's end on a good note.
Awesome. So I went to, I'm not going to say the name of the bad game store just because I don't even want people to...
Is it that one in Greensboro, though, that you told me about?
Yep. So I'm going to tell the same story. So I took my brother-in-law and my son to a game store. I was looking for some hero clicks, and we were going to like get a few more hero clicks so that Scotty could play around with them and stuff. And like me and Rob mess with hero clicks and stuff too, so we play some. And I'm not
Hold on, we don't just mess with hero clicks. We are now hero clicks.
Oh, okay, gotcha. We casually play hero clicks. We don't like tournament play hero clicks or anything crazy. Rob keeps wanting to, but maybe someday. But I used to play a ton of hero clicks tournaments back in the day, and I played the game when it first came out. So like I know the game and stuff like that. But it's been cool because I've been teaching my my 4-year-old to play the game, and we don't play with all the crazy powers. We just roll the dice and like look at the pips and things like that, and have a good time that way. But I also play with Rob, and we've played at game nights and stuff like that. So anyway, I go to this game store, and I was looking through their like singles bin. I was looking for like some of the cheap hero clicks and things, and I was trying to just find recognizable characters that I could get so that Scotty could play with them and we could play with them, just because there's tons and tons of like obscure comic book characters in hero clicks, and I think it's fun to play with like the people people actually know, like playing with Superman and Batman and all the Marvel guys and all the like known characters, rather than just throwing out a whole bunch of just random people that you have to be super into the comics, or they're guys that are only like in one comic episode. So anyway, I'm looking around trying to like find a Spider-Man, because Scotty really wanted a Spider-Man character. And so I was looking in the guys in the counter or whatever, and the owner comes up to me and is like, oh, well, everything in this here is everywhere from like $5 to like $100 or whatever. I'm like, dag, they get pretty expensive or whatever. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, do you have a Spider-Man character or anything like that? And he's like, no, well, we might have like this one. He's like $80 something. I'm like, man, those are expensive. And he's like, well, I'm really sorry that our HeroClix selection is too good for you. It's too like high standard for you. And I'm just like, okay, that's kind of weird. I was just like looking for the different things. And he like went back to doing whatever, and he's like, well, let me know when you're ready, and I will I'll ring you up or whatever. So I continue looking around at different stuff like that. So I let him know. I was like, hey man, we're gonna get a few of these little hero clicks. And he's like, oh, come over there whenever, in just a little bit. I'm like, oh, okay, backing off or whatever. And I said, oh, I want to get these dice and these hero clicks. That'd be cool. And he gets some and starts ringing them up and stuff like that. And all the hero clicks come with like different cards or whatever, so you can see all the powers and stuff. And I'd been there before and bought hero clicks, and the guy got me all the cards. It was a different guy. This guy's the owner. We had a different guy who was really cool and really nice when I went there. But I asked the guy if I could maybe have the cards too. And he's like, oh, you play the game? And I was like, yeah, I play with my son and I play with my friends casually and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, I thought you didn't know anything about it. And I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, that's fine. And he's like, well, you're going to have to help me find them. So I was looking through them, and he got pretty upset with me as I was picking them up. He's like, oh, they're all in alphabetical order. You can't be messing them up. And I'm just like, I felt very awkward about the whole situation. And I felt like the whole time I was not elite enough of a HeroClick player to be buying clicks in the guy's store. And I was just there trying to get some clicks for my son and get some clicks for my friends. And it left me feeling pretty awkward about the whole thing. And I was like, I don't know if I should be buying things if his selection's too elite for me or whatever. So I don't know. I was just trying to buy a few singles. So I don't know that I'll be going back to get HeroClix from there. I probably just get some 25-cent ones offline instead, just because it was very much the nerd
we
mentality.
Go back and we burn it down. Not even joking. We go back and we burn that place down. First of all, if you're the owner of a store, your customer service should be a little bit higher than degrading and, yeah, I guess I'll take your money at the cash register.
Yeah.
You know, like, that is completely unacceptable. The salesman in me just wants to, like, go and punch this dude in the face.
I feel like that's why I was upset a lot, too. It's because I have, like, 10 years of retail service, and I'm just like, you're supposed to, like, try to help the customer out with the things and be nice to them.
And
like,
who is he to try to make some type of snap judgment? Like, he doesn't know at all your financial status or anything like that. And he's basing it completely on appearance. What a complete douchebag. You heard me say it. Dude's a douchebag. And I know Roy's too nice to say it, but I'll say it. This place is in Greensboro, North Carolina. If you ever see a place in Greensboro, North Carolina that's selling a lot of HeroClix, don't buy there because they suck.
The funny thing is, even further back, like when they first opened the store, I was like, cool, comic book store. Let me go in. Let me see what's going on. And I walk in the store, and the owner, the first thing he says to me was like, oh, are you here to get some, or are you just here to rob me? And I'm just like, the same guy, but this was like a year earlier. And I'm like, why did I ever go back in?
Like, I don't understand people.
Maybe he just doesn't like the way I look. I have tattoos and
that
crazy hair.
That doesn't matter. Then
I don't know.
Open up a store. If that's your problem. Hey, side note for the board gaming community, if you want to get involved in sales, not just playing the game, but trying to sell your game or sell other games, have a little charm, or maybe not even charm, but just be flat and normal. Don't be a jerk about it. You don't have to be rude about stuff like that. I can't stand that type of complete unnecessary immaturity and lack of professionalism. The dude, he's such a bad representation of what business is and the way that you should treat people and stuff like that. Just, this is so dumb. It really outrages me. Like, I remember when you first told me this the first time, I wanted to go with you right then and there to the store. And it's like, look, man, we literally could buy your whole store right now, so shut your mouth. You suck. You suck balls. I just wanted to, like...
The funny thing that I was thinking the whole time I was there was just that WizKids has us, like, review HeroClix, so, like, they trust us enough to send us HeroClix to review. Like, I'm just trying to buy a couple for my kids. So...
Yeah.
But yeah, I love board games and I love tabletop games, and I just wish that everybody would help make it a positive place and try to be inclusive to, like, everybody and try to promote gaming and promote people getting to the hobby. Because I was literally trying to teach my son a game, which for me, like, if somebody was trying to buy, like, games for, like, their son or kid at a store, I would just be like, yes, raising the new generation on board games or card games or tabletop games, that's the best. So... Yeah. So, and I wasn't even going to talk about it, but I wanted to say something to contrast that. On the other side, there was a good store that I went to that is actually a video game arcade called Lost Ark. They mostly deal in... they have an arcade in the back that you can pay to, like, go, and, like, it's all just, like, arcade games that, like, you don't have to, like, pay quarters once you're in there. You just pay, like, $8 and you can go in and play all day, like, video games. They have all sorts of, like, retro games and all sorts of, like, Japanese, like, arcade games, which are super exciting. Lots of pinball machines and stuff like that too. You can just play them all day once you pay the thing. They also have a bunch of, like, retro games. They sell NES games and Super Nintendo games, and they buy people's old games and sell those, they started carrying board games, and they have a really good selection for like decent prices there. And I went and I saw that they didn't have the stuff for Mansions of Madness, and I was telling them, hey, they had one of the expansions for Mansions of Madness, and I asked if they were going to get the other one in, and they're like, oh, we don't have it in, but we can totally order it for you. And they took down my name and said, we'll definitely like call you and let you know if the game comes in, and it should be in. It shouldn't take us that long to get it. I think it was just out of stock, and we weren't able to get it back in. And this is a video game place, so I was like, oh, awesome, thanks like for doing that. And they ended up texting me and calling me when it came in, and they got the game, and I was able to go in and get the game that I wanted. I was actually able to trade some video games in to get a copy of the board games that I was looking for, and they were super excited about that. And they were talking to me about the Arkham Horror LCG, and like, oh, people are into that. That sounds super cool. And they gave me really good customer service, and were able to get the game in that I was looking for, even when they didn't have it in stock. And it was just like complete and total contrast to my experience at the other store. So if you're ever in Greensboro, do go to Lost Ark Arcade. Not only do they have a cool arcade, but they have retro video games and a good selection of board games. Like, they have a lot of stuff that is hot right now on Board Game Geek. Like, whoever's buying the board games there knows what's up. It's not like a bunch of boring stuff. It's stuff that gamers would really be excited about. And that's my story of board game places. So sorry we had to make you suffer through that, Emerson.
No. That was awesome.
So yeah, great customer service goes a long way.
You guys remember that one time we got Emerson to cuss at Matt?
Yeah.
I'll never forget that.
This is good. It was a good game of Secret Hitler.
Yeah.
He was like, "What the?"
Well, I was definitely really.
I'll never forget.
Although I don't think I was using any swear. I think I was just yelling at him.
Nah, yeah.
Fascist.
You were yelling in like a very soft tone, so it was like Rob's normal speaking voice. But it alarmed Rob.
Awesome. Cool. Well, let's get into talking about some of Emerson's upcoming games. So you have a few brand new games coming out. And one we had kind of talked about on the podcast before, but one that's supposed to be coming out, is it next month or is it the month after that? Century Spice Road is going to be coming out, right?
It is actually next month.
Nice.
So, of June is going to be the official release date.
Awesome. So tell us all about Century Spice Road and the struggles of getting this to people's tables.
Sure. I had shown... Oh, so this was a game that I was going to publish under NASCA Games.
Nice.
But since I had worked with Plaid Hat on Spectrops, and they did such a great job, and they're awesome to work with. They're absolutely great to work with. So for Caravan, it was initially called... Actually, the first title was called Spice Road. When I decided to partner up with Plaid Hat Games, they renamed it to Caravan because that is probably the most descriptive name for the game. Then Plaid Hat Games got acquired by F2Z Entertainment, so then it was going to go from Plaid Hat to Z-Man Games, and then F2Z Entertainment got bought out by Asmodee North America, or Asmodee. But in that whole process, Caravan was actually not going to be branded under Asmodee. Instead, some of the former staff from F2Z Entertainment formed their own company called Plan B Studios. And Caravan is now going to be their launch title, and it's been renamed to Century Spice Road. And the reason for that is that it is now going to be a series of 3 games. So in each game is going to focus on sort of like a different century in history. So starting, I think it's from like the 14th or 1500s and moving on from there. And each game is supposed to, they're all going to have a similar like feeling in terms of like you're trading goods and things like that. But there's supposed to be some mechanical differences between them. So It's not entirely it's not exactly like an expansion to each other. So that's the current state of where Caravan was once.
Nice. I didn't realize you were actually like seriously thinking about publishing it yourself back in the day.
Yeah.
How long do you think the game has been like pretty much finished-ish, or like ready to like make happen, or do you always tweak your games until they're like ready to print?
It was Caravan or Spice Road. This was an anomaly for me when it comes to as a designer.
Mhm.
It was the final game is actually very, very close to the initial prototype.
That's awesome.
So the initial prototype had the 5 point cards, which it does now. It always had the gold and silver tokens on the top. It always had 6 market cards, and I think the only things I've tweaked was just some of the values of the cards, just what cubes transform into what cubes. But the overall gameplay has not changed very much from the initial prototype, which is it's very rare, because most of the times when we come up with a prototype and we look back once we finish the game, when we look back to our initial prototype, we see that it was vastly different than what it is.
Right.
But this was one of those anomalies where it's so close to the original prototype.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So
it's
it's been ready to go for a while.
it's been ready to go for a while. Yeah.
It's awesome. So how exactly do the mechanics work in this game? I've seen a little bit of like how it works. It's all about trading resources to get more resources to upgrade your different types of spices into other types of spices and get the more expensive or rarer types and get victory points from that, right?
You have explained the entire game.
Nice. And I've never played it.
There's just 4 actions that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
So you play cards to either get spices, or you upgrade your spices, or you trade them in for other spices. So it is the very definition of a cube pusher, because you are just moving cubes around. Mm-hmm. So on your turn, you're playing cards to get better and better cubes as you go. The other action is you can get other cards, which will help you get better cubes and trade to better cubes. The third action is that as you've played these cards, they'll be laying out in front of you. So the third action is you could take all the cards that you played back into your hand so that you could play them again in order to get more cubes, upgrade those cubes, trade them into other into other cubes. And then the fourth action is to just get victory points by trading in cubes. So there's I wish I could make it sound more exciting than that, but it's not a game that has an exciting theme to it, but it's just more, it's got a very, very simple engine to it.
And I've heard this game's got like super high praise from anybody who's played it already, so I'm definitely super excited to actually get a chance to play it. Cause
yeah, I hope I get a chance to show you guys the game. Maybe are you guys going to be at Origins by any chance?
Not going to be at Origins.
Okay. I'll have to get a copy shipped to you then.
Dice Tower, and we're going to I'm going to Gen Con. So Rob's having babies instead.
Oh, well, will I still have the chance to yell at Matt?
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Everything's kind of up in the air for me too. So.
Yeah.
However, though,
he's having babies also. No, I'm just kidding.
However,
not that I'm aware of.
If you want to send some of your games to my daughter, whose name is actually going to be Emerson, we have officially decided.
Really?
The only difference is it's going to be Emersyn, not O. So, but I will make sure it's an O if some games come in the mail.
What was I gonna say? Didn't you guys like decide on like the names of her, and you're like, Emerson, that's a great name. That name's amazing. And you're like, where do I remember that name?
It sounded so familiar. So my daughter's name is going to be Emerson Avery Newman, and I was like, why do I know this? Why are these so familiar? Like,
oh god.
And I was like, oh my gosh, 2 of my favorite game designers, Emerson Avery. How can I milk this for as much free product as possible?
That's the biggest honor that a person can have, is to have a child named after them.
Now, remember when Rob got you to sign his copy of Spectre Ops? Next time he sees you, he's going to get you to sign his daughter's birth certificate.
His daughter,
No, I'm just kidding.
But actually, next time, I'm just going to show up with the bag and we're like, you can fill it up to here.
All that love.
No, I'm excited. We're excited. My wife, she wanted to name our first kid Emerson, and I was like, I don't know. I haven't met Mr. Matsuchi yet. Just wait. Just wait. And so then, now that I've met you, now we can officially do it. Because it's not that cool if we name it beforehand. But now that having met you and now we do it, now it means a little bit more.
I still think it's funny that you're just like, where do I know those names from? We're actually going to see Steve Avery.
And it hit me on a podcast
this weekend.
Oh.
Yeah,
Are you guys
so
going down to Atlanta, or is he coming up to North Carolina?
we're going to the Cool
down
Me or
to
Not
Atlanta.
Expo. So he's going to be
right.
there. So that should be super exciting.
Very cool. Very cool.
Awesome. So back to Spice Road.
Yeah.
Is there any hope? Because I know at one time there was going to be this big thing of you guys releasing the same game with two completely different themes going on. I guess Crystal Golem has been officially shelved as Plan B is putting out Spice Road.
It has taken a back seat for the time being, and that is all I can say about it.
Ooh, that's even cooler. So I was thinking that it was probably dead in the water. So, but I was Team Crystal Golem when we had our podcast last time. So
the official word is that it is dead in the water, and that's all I'm allowed to say.
Nice. Dead in the water, but not allowed to talk about it being dead in the water. Great.
Once you get through Century Spice Road, Century Silk Road, and Century Iron Road, then you can come back and do the
Century
fantasy-themed
Crystal Road.
Yeah.
Nice. So the other games in this Century line, are they just going to be from all different designers, or are you working across the entire line?
Yeah, I'm working on the next two games.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm working on it. It was at the request to make it a trilogy of games.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and they said, would it be possible to, have some elements, cross over and things like that? And I said, yeah, I think we could do something like that. So that's sort of where the trilogy was born from.
So are there going to be any cards and different things that you can use in the other games, or is it just going to be very similar like aspects to the different games? You're like, not allowed to say.
A lot of things. Well, actually, it's more like a lot of things are up in the air.
Gotcha.
And I'm still trying to figure out some things. So it's one of those moments when at that moment you have like an idea in your head and it sounds really good, and then you actually like make the prototype of it and you realize that wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. Yeah. So it's so that's why there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done in order to make the games, at least enjoyable games, right?
Yeah.
And there's going to be some crossing over, so you'll be able to actually play the games together if you wanted to.
Yeah.
That's
Modular
awesome.
design. I love it.
That's definitely awesome.
Yeah.
I'm definitely excited to see the whole thing start out, because like we're super like thematic theme people, but I've heard such great things about Spice Road, and the kind of like cube pusher or Euro games that I really like are the ones that are like the lighter, like family weight that you can get into and just do whatever with. And I feel like Spice Road will be able to fill that niche of like, maybe this is something like my wife would like to play and I can play with like my family, that is something that's not too crazy but still has like cool mechanics and solid stuff going on. So
yeah, that's definitely my goal, is to make it a very family weight game that you can play with, your grandma or your father-in-law. And so it's awesome. One of those type of games, yeah.
I'm excited for it because I've heard it being compared to Splendor and other games like that. My wife actually really likes Splendor, and so to be able to bring in another game to that will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say Mark Street's in the chat just hyping up the game.
Yeah, everybody says it's the Splendor killer, so we'll see how much you murdered other games, Emerson.
It's funny that people refer to it as a Splendor kill, because I enjoy Splendor, but mechanically it is quite different. But I think people compare.
You can say it killed Splendor. You could say it. Go ahead. No.
Oh,
come on.
Well, for instance, like
corrupt yourself. Just say it. It's better.
Oh, here's trying to think of a good example. Cry Havoc. Now, when I played Cry Havoc, that was an amazing game. It was an amazing game. And people have compared it to like Blood Rage and said, oh, this is going to replace Blood Rage for them. But when I look at the two games, they are mechanically...
They're very different.
Very different. The similarities might be that the board might look a little similar if you squint your eyes enough.
Yeah.
But the mechanics, the player interaction, just all the elements of the game are very, very different. So I do like wonder how people make associations with different types of games when they're mechanically very, very different. And I think it really just boils down to just like our impression or how it makes us feel.
Right.
So I think Century Spice Road, people compare it to Splendor because it gives them a similar feeling.
Right. It's for like the same kind of group of people, maybe, or maybe it's like the same sort of weight, so people put them together.
It's the same weight. It's aimed at the sort of the same market. But I mean, I think I enjoy Splendor, and I think it's a great game. And I didn't make Century Spice Road with the intention of trying to kill it, but more just it's something that people who like Splendor may also like this as well.
Well, technically, this game has the prototype is pretty much the same as the beginning, and you made this way back when, so might have been out before Splendor was even out if Nazca had put it on the shelves.
Yeah, so the original prototype, because this was back in I showed Plaid Hat Games the original prototype in 2014.
Gotcha.
So at that point it had undergone some development. So that was like when I was ready to actually publish the game myself. So I guess the initial inception of it was 2013.
Gotcha.
Sometime around then. So So the prototype's been around for a long time. I don't know when Splendor came out. Was it 2014 it came out?
I think it was either 14 or 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe the inception of it came before I had any exposure to Splendor, but I'm sure that Splendor's original prototype was probably far predates my original prototype of Spice Road.
Nice. Awesome. Well, let's talk about the awesome upcoming social deduction game you have called Crossfire. We haven't talked about this on the podcast before at all, so we've talked about it when it was announced by Plaid Hat, but we don't know exactly how awesome this is going to be. So tell us about Crossfire and what this game is that you've designed.
Okay, so this is also another game that has that I showed back in 2014. So it's been a long time as well. This is a social deduction game that if I were to try to find some analogous comparison to another game, I would probably pick One Night Ultimate Werewolf.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is a social deduction game that is very, very quick. And in fact, after you do the setup, basically you're just passing out the cards. After you've done the setup, it's timed to 3 minutes. So each game is only going to last 3 minutes. And it's one that I think it does something a little bit different. So most social deduction games will have you close your eyes, and then the people who are on the same team would open their eyes, acknowledge each other, and then anyone else who has like ancillary information would then get it from like either a thumb being up or some markers being turned on the table and so forth. Crossfire, there's all you do is actually you just pass cards. So everyone would get a roll card. Everyone would look at their roll card and then pass it to their left. And then once that's passed, you take a look at another roll card, and then there's a shuffling among 3 people apiece, and then that way it obscures some of the information, but you do have some information about where possible rolls could be. So
you okay?
And it's
I'm sorry, I just had
something I said.
Yes and no. Sorry. All right. I just got this
chat's
picture in my
wondering
mind.
how many little marble BBs are in the game. Is that what you're laughing about?
No, it wasn't that at all. When he said it's different than closing your eyes and stuff like that for One Night Ultimate Werewolf, I thought, no, you get to smack the person to your left, and I just got this visual of us just like smacking each other. And so I'm sorry, I just like just this big, just like smack, just like because Crossfire, you're crossing the thing, so. That's just where my mind's at. I'm sorry. I just had a little slap fest in my head.
So how all will you be able to glean information from the other players and try to figure out what's going on in the game?
Okay, so actually, let me explain a couple of the roles.
Okay, cool.
So there's one role. Probably the most important role is the VIP. So one person is the VIP, and they're the head of the blue team. Okay, so there's actually two teams. There's a red team and a blue team. The blue team consists of the VIP, which is the important person, and on the blue team there's also agents, which are trying to protect the VIP. On the red team, they have assassins that are actually trying to identify who the VIP is and shoot them.
Gotcha.
So there's also...
And this is also in Spectre Ops universe, right? So you have Raxon and Arc as well?
Yes, that's correct.
So blue team is Raxon with the very important person, and the red is like the assassin guys and stuff trying to...
They're the architects.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Could these be characters to the next possible Spectre Ops? Are we getting a preview of the artwork of things to come?
I'm not at liberty to say at the moment.
You can just make it.
Are you not at liberty to say that you are working on another Spectre Ops? Yes or no?
I'm not at liberty to say.
I'm pretty sure the first time he came on the podcast, he was like, Spectre Ops expansion, hopefully someday, maybe.
We'll need the...
I can neither confirm nor deny that there are characters in Crossfire that foreshadow some of the new characters that may or may not come out in an expansion that may or may not be in development at the moment.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I really love the whole Spectre Ops universe. So.
Will come out in 2019.
We just need Jerry Hawthorne to show up with an NDA paper, and it's just like, no.
Hold up the NDA paper.
Okay.
Bro.
Oh,
I'm
man.
excited for Spectre Ops too.
Yeah.
I know you can't say it, but I'll say it. It's coming.
I'm excited to have another game in the same universe because I really enjoy that whole aspect of the Raxon and Arc, and even going back into the whole Dead of Winter thing, how Raxon fits into that. Just I feel like that whole storyline is super interesting when you look at all the pieces together. So
I really enjoy the story. I think the story is one of the strongest parts of Spectre Ops, is that there's a whole narrative that was built around that and that ties in with Dead of Winter. And when when I presented the game as Cypher Ops, it was the prototype before Spectre Ops, and when Colby put the story around it, my mind was blown. It was such a very compelling story to go along with the game.
So the timeline on Crossfire is basically the same like area of time around Spectre Ops, basically.
Yeah, it is. Just because that some of the I can't mention that some of the characters, but because of that, it's around the same time-ish.
Cool.
You can say it. You can say it. Flat Hat's not coming back on until July. It'll be out by then.
What was I gonna say? So getting back to the different teams, you were telling us about what some of the different roles do.
Yeah. So the way that information is distributed. Oh, actually, I was in the middle of explaining the roles. So basically, the blue team, their objective is to keep the VIP safe. So the blue team wins if the VIP is not shot.
Gotcha.
Okay. And you have the red team. The red team will win if the VIP is shot. So it's from that perspective, it's very, very simple. The complicated thing is that in each game, there's also an innocent bystander as well. So if you shoot the bystander, you lose. And the bystander can win, but he can only win if he's not shot by anybody.
Gotcha.
And then there's another role called the decoy. Now his role, like his objective in the game, is to get shot. So he's actually trying to get people to shoot him, while the VIP and the bystander are trying not to get shot. The agents are trying to identify the assassins, because if the agents can shoot the assassins, it'll stop them from shooting. And then obviously the assassins are trying not to get identified by the agents, but they're also trying to figure out who the VIP is, so that they could shoot the VIP.
Gotcha.
Do you know what teams you were on though from the get-go?
You do. So the reason I was explaining all the different roles is that at the start of the game, you shuffle up a certain number of roles. So there'll be a certain number of blue players, certain number of red players, and a certain number of bystanders or decoys. And the roles are passed out. You just shuffle it and you randomly pass them out. Then each person's going to look at one of the roles, right?
Okay.
Then you put that card down, you pass it to your left. So you would receive a card from the person to your right. Yeah, you could smack the person to your left,
Okay.
and then you could look at the card that you were dealt. So you're looking at 2 cards. Now, after you've taken a look at the 2 cards, then starting with the dealer, that person is going to take the cards to their left and right and shuffle it with his own. So there will be 3 cards that get shuffled, and then every third person will do that around the table. So what that means is that, and then once the shuffling is done, you get to look at the card that you receive, and that's your actual role in the game. But what happens is that you will see 2 other cards in that mix. And then based on that, you know that the 3 cards, you'll know 2 of the 3 cards that got shuffled in with your role. So now you have some information. So the person to your right saw one of the cards. You saw 2 cards. The person to your right saw one of the cards. The person to your left saw one of the cards. So now you can, so let's say, for instance, when we start playing the game, I would say, I saw an assassin and a bystander, right? So, but the person to my left and right can verify whether that's what they saw as well.
I'm excited, especially the fact that we're going to be able to do all this in under 3 minutes. It seems like it's going to be crazy and hectic and fun. And I know Plaid Hat right now on their website, because I was actually looking it up today. They have to be announced. Do you have any idea? Is this going to be like a release pre-Gen Con? Or is this going to be like a Gen Con release or something like that? When do you think we'll be able to get our hands on it? Because I mean, you know us, we love social deduction games.
Right.
So like,
I haven't got the official release date of it, but my best guess would be around Gen Con.
Cool.
Okay.
That's
That's my best. I'm hoping it makes it for Gen Con.
Gotcha.
So I think it'll be a fun game to demo there.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, because man, we're almost to August. I mean, August is like, we're less than 100 days away now from Gen Con.
It's starting to get close for things that aren't already being manufactured. Maybe some air shipments.
Yeah. May require some air shipping, yeah.
And it's not going to be like a super huge game or anything.
No,
what all is the components that come with the game?
It's going to be, I think, last count, I think it was 18 cards. 18 cards and a sand timer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
So-
or maybe it was 20. Oh, actually, no, it may be because we've added some additional roles and things like that. So it may be 21 cards. I should take a look at the component count again, but I'm just trying to remember from my last prototype. So I think it's going to be around 20 or so cards and a sand timer, and that's it. That's all the components.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see Plaid Hat branch out too with a social deduction game, because majority of their games are like big box games and different things, and I'm glad to see like a genre that I love is another game that they're going to make, and they have like the best designer doing it, so it's going to be great.
Yeah, Jerry Hawthorne's awesome, and I just those 2 guys, I love the stuff that they come up with.
But yeah, and it sounds like a game that you'll play multiple times, not just once.
Yeah.
3 minutes.
Unless it's really bad, then maybe just once.
So you have the Splendor Killer, and now you have the One Night Killer. Whether it's One Night Aliens, One Night Werewolves, One Night Vampires.
I mean, because technically,
are there any other type of games that you're trying to dominate, or any other companies you're trying to put out of business?
he has the Hidden Movement Killer already, so.
Well, yeah,
So, just for the record, I'm not trying to kill anybody or any games and things like that. In fact,
it's the real life board game industry social deduction game. Emerson's the assassin in every case.
Yes, and this game there's player elimination. No. No, I think the board game industry is just really interesting in that even though we may be competitors, like other designers or may be competing with each other, but at the same time we're like really excited about the stuff that we come up with, right? So like, let's say for instance, Ted Alspach comes out with One Night Ultimate Killer, that would be a game that I would be kind of interested in, because I am a fan of like the One Night Werewolf series, and so I think that there's just a whole lot of really good games out there, and I'm just hoping that there the games that I create are going to have a place in the market, because there are so many like really, really good games out there right now.
Well, if you don't have time to play something that only takes 3 minutes, then we can't help you.
Okay. So I'm hoping that's the uniqueness of the game, is that it is the two unique factors of it is that it's, besides the form factor being such a small game, it has such a small footprint, but it is probably the fastest game. It's a 3-minute social deduction game. Not sure if there's ones out there that are that take that amount of time.
Yeah.
The other unique feature I feel is unique about this social deduction game as opposed to other ones is that everyone has some information. So as opposed to, say, in Werewolf, you'll have the villagers who have no information. They have to slowly get information.
Right.
But or in, say, Avalon, if you're the blue guy, right, your typical blue guy, you have no information. Whereas like the red team and Merlin would have some information. But in Crossfire, everyone has a little bit of information. So everyone has something to contribute, and also everyone has something to hide as well.
So what are kind of like the strategies you have as different roles going into this game? Is it good to like hold back the information you have? Is it good to like misplace trust the information you have? Like bluff the information that you have? Or what kind of things can you do in the game, and what might different roles be excited about trying to pull off?
Sure. Each role has like different, I guess, incentives. So as an agent, you don't have much incentive to lie, with the exception that maybe what you can do is you could lie about being the VIP.
Gotcha.
So that, or you try to pretend, or try to get people
act like
to
you sort of are the VIP.
Yeah, exactly. Act like you're sort of the VIP, maybe.
But act like you're trying to not let people know that you're the VIP, so that they'll think you are the VIP, because you're trying to act like you're not the VIP.
Exactly. Now, the assassins, because they don't want to be identified by the agents, because if they're shot by the agent, they don't get a chance to shoot.
Oh, gotcha.
So the assassins might, try to pretend to also be, let's say, the bystander, because if you shoot the bystander, you lose. So they may try to pretend to be the bystander, but I've seen it very effective for an agent to pretend to, or an assassin to pretend to be an agent, and try to work from that angle.
Do the agents get to know who the VIP is?
No.
So an assassin can pretend to be the VIP, because the agents are definitely not going to try to kill the VIP. So
correct.
Be like, hey, I'm on your guys' side, but don't let them shoot me, because if they shoot me, then we lose. But you're really trying to figure out who that person is, and be like, no, I'm the VIP. So
right. Now the thing is that because let's say if you have 6 players, and on each side there's 3 cards that get shuffled. So if someone saw the VIP on one side of the table, then if someone's claiming to be the VIP on the other side of the table, then you know that someone has to be lying.
Yeah.
So
if you saw that the VIP was on your side, you'd be like, okay, I have this information to be able to call people on their bluff over there.
Correct.
Nice.
So, but let's say, for instance, one person on the other side where the VIP is not, right? They may say, hey, I'm the VIP, but then he'll be outed because the VIP is on the other side of the table, so he may end up getting shot. But then he may reveal his roll caller and say, well, I was the decoy. I actually wanted to get shot. So there's each of the roles has different. I know it sounds really, really confusing, and as I listen to
it doesn't. I just want to play it.
Yeah.
I wish I could play it with you guys right now, but it's each of the.
I like games where everybody's got something to do.
Yeah,
and so it does sound confusing if you're just now joining in, but it doesn't, because everybody's got something that they can do where you're relevant all the time. And
yeah, it is one of the things that is exciting about this, as opposed to like other games or like even Werewolf and stuff like that, because sometimes you just don't, like, if you're the villager, you're just kind of like, what do I do? What should my goal be? Like, I have no information to go on, and I have to just trust the people that might have information. In this one, at least you have a little bit of information, so you can try to mess other people up or try to figure it out with the other players.
Right. In this one, there's no villagers, so everyone's got some useful information. So, but the thing is that no one has perfect information.
And they have to rely on the other players' information that they actually share, whether it be truthful or not, to try to figure out what's going on.
Right, yes. And people can also verify, because if you saw two cards, but the person to your right saw one of them, the person to your left saw the other one. So if you lie about which card you saw, one of your neighbors will be able to say, "Well, that's not what I saw."
Gotcha.
So you always have that little bit there.
Cool. And when the assassins actually try to shoot the VIP, do they use like a marble shooting gun? Like, how does that work? The crossfire. Do they try to knock the thing in the little goal? Anyway, sorry, couldn't help it. Everybody keeps making crossfire jokes in chat. So,
so in this one, think of, have you guys played Cash and Guns? I'm sure you guys have played.
Yeah.
So the round ends just like a round of Cash and Guns, where once the timer is out, we call 3, 2, 1, and everyone points a gun at each other.
Gotcha. Even like the bystander gets to point a gun too, or?
Yeah, the bystander is the VIP, but there's a script that we have. So the first line of the script says, if you're a bystander or the VIP, or if you're not an agent or assassin, you put your gun down.
Then your finger doesn't matter.
Yeah. Then you see if the agents were able to shoot the assassins. So any assassins that were shot by the agents, they have to put their guns down.
Gotcha.
And then the VIP would reveal, and if he was shot. Now, I've seen games where the agent shot the VIP.
That's awesome.
And that's still a win for the red team. So if the VIP is shot, then the red team wins. If the VIP is not shot, then the blue team wins.
It's definitely super exciting. I can see how the game works, like just from you describing it and being like, I want to play. I need to figure out how to actually make like the correct thing happen for whichever team I'm on. So that sounds great. So and hopefully this year release, right?
Yes, I'm hoping it's this year. I'm fairly certain it's this year.
Gotcha.
I have good feelings it's this year, especially since Plaid Hat is already putting it out like on display on their website and stuff like that. Because if you go to the store, I don't know if you can pre-order it because they don't have the price on it yet, but they do have it in their store, and there is like a whole section about it. So,
gotcha. Hype. That's super exciting.
That's where I first heard about it.
Yeah,
because I'm going on there for Ash's stuff, and I was like, Crossfire, what in the heck is this? Oh my goodness! So.
Awesome. So I think we've pretty much covered these other questions about Crossfire. Cool. So I asked Emerson what he wanted to talk about, and he said he wants to talk about all the exciting stuff we're going to do at upcoming conventions and things like that. So what does your upcoming convention season look like, Emerson?
Okay. So I'll be at Origins in Columbus, Ohio. Mm-hmm. Then in July, this one I'm not entirely sure on, but I'd like to be able to attend Dice Tower Con if I can.
Please go.
Me and Rob are going to be there, and I feel like that convention is probably going to be like the most casual and the most time we're going to have, like to be able to do stuff. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I do enjoy Origins because it is not as hectic as Gen Con, and you do have time to just sit down. In not such a rushed environment where you have to go from one appointment to the next. So you get to play games, you get to just hang out with people and just do fun things without the time pressure. That being said, though, I really enjoy Gen Con too because I feel like it is
it's the place to be.
The industry, it's the industry show, and you'll see like all the designers there, all the big publishers are there. There's just so many events going on. And because of that, you always have this constant pressure that you need to be doing something at every waking moment of the day, because if you're not, then you're missing something. There's always that feeling there at Gen Con, but I still really enjoy that show. So I'll be at Gen Con, and then I'm on the fence of whether I'm going to go to BGG Con or PAX Unplugged.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are trying to figure out which one they're going to, so that Those are probably going to be pretty awesome. I'm definitely excited to see what PAX Unplugged does for the industry because PAX is always super huge, and the fact that they're going to make a PAX that is only tabletop games is super exciting to me. But I won't be able to go. So
we have a shout out in chat that says Mega Moose Con is totally laid back. So if you're looking for
who would say that? Like, I don't know anybody who would be trying to talk about Mega Moose Con in the chat. Like, oh, Mark. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. Every week.
My friend Morena is telling me that I really should go to PAX.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, yeah, so that sounds super exciting. Gen Con is one of those conventions where you basically get lucky if you can give someone a high five while you're running past each other. So it was really awesome this past year that we got to like hang out and do stuff just by random chance, raiding Dan King's hotel room.
Yep. And this was after the Secret Cabal party that was totally awesome, but when we were just walking there, I could swear we were on the wrong path because we're walking through construction zones, and we just kept walking. And at a point, we were looking at each other thinking, we must be going in the wrong direction. Mm-hmm. It seems so far.
Yeah, I'm definitely doing the Secret Cabal meetup again this year. It's always like super ridiculously crazy, like while it's happening and while they're doing the giveaway, but then after the giveaway it clears out a little bit and you can breathe for a second. So and they're doing it in like a brewery this year as well. Like they got like a whole like beer or bar/brewery that's gonna like host them. It's supposed to have a lot more room, so I'm excited to see how that turns out this year. We'll see.
Looking forward to that.
I tweeted Dan King because we played games with Mandy as well when we went there, when we played Captain Sonar. And me and Mandy were talking about going to Gen Con, and I was like, oh, well, we'll have to raid Dan King's hotel again. So she's like, let's do that.
Yeah.
So that
was also that was definitely another high point, is to hang out with, like, Mandy, the pinup girl, and the rest of their crew. It was a good time playing, and Captain Sonar was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I was afraid that they wouldn't want to play Captain Sonar with us with how loud we were being playing Secret Hitler. So,
because okay. You get rewarded in Captain Sonar for being loud. Because the other Sonar guy's like, I can't hear a word the other guy's saying, because that guy at the end is just like, missiles ready.
And after playing Captain Sonar several more times, I've actually been like the sonar like specialist, where you have to draw the lines and stuff, and it just makes me think, man, Emerson can do this so much better than me. Emerson MVP. Like if I had a pro team of Captain Sonar, I'd put Emerson on sonar every time.
See, that was definitely a challenge, being the sonar guy, because Dan would shout out north. And then someone else would say, what was that? And he would say north again. And I'm marking on my map 2 norths. And then I realized I'm way off, because every time it's like I hear a couple of directions. Sometimes people would echo it. Dan would say north. And someone would say, okay, north. And another guy at the end would say, okay, north. So I'm marking north 3 times.
And yet you still managed to wreck them and find them.
Yeah, in the real-time game, we still won, so I was pretty excited.
I think that was blind luck, though. I think that was blind luck.
I just remember whenever I'd be like, Emerson, where are they? He'd be like, I think they're here, and Emerson was right. So.
Then we threw down, we put down, what was it? The depth charges, right?
Like the mines or whatever? Yeah.
Yes. I think we're killing ourselves at the same time we're hitting them, just because we ended up so close to each other at the end. That was a lot of fun. That was a really fun thing.
Trying for those bold strategies.
Yeah.
Super exciting. Well, we're doing several conventions. We're going to the Cool Mini or Not Expo this weekend, which we're all super pumped about.
Awesome. When are you guys getting there?
I'm going to get there Friday morning. And at 10 o'clock, I'm immediately have to record with the Dice Tower. So I'm supposed to... at 10 o'clock, I'm supposed to be recording Rising Sun with Sam, Tom, and Derek. So
you get to play it?
The first thing when I get there, that's what's happening. Yeah. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm so happy.
But they should have it on the demo floor, too, so...
Yeah.
Rob's like,
So when we
what
all go
if they
play it
don't?
together, Roy
I
can
don't
just
know.
trash us and be like, "Yeah, guys, this game's fun. Haha, haha. I won 65-2. Haha."
But yeah, so I'm excited about that, but I'm also
Bet you
stressed
are.
out about how much of a whirlwind like the whole convention's going to be. So
Yeah.
this is going to be the first convention that that my wife is going to come to with me. So she's going to come Saturday and spend the whole day at the Cool Mini or Not Expo, and I get to show her all sorts of different board games. She plays board games and stuff with me, but we normally play like lighter family games. I'm hoping we get to play some of the. I'm going to bring some escape room games with me, like some of the unlock stuff, because she really likes that.
Yeah, but if we're being honest, she's really coming just so you guys can get another swag bag. Because that swag bag this year is pretty awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Have you seen the swag bag, Emerson?
I have not.
Oh boy.
First of all, you get a whole freaking bag full of just stuff. And then, after everything, they're giving everybody a free copy of Zombicide Black Flag on top of the swag bag.
Straight
Wow.
up.
And
Just-
a lot of the stuff, the other stuff
That's
you get
awesome.
is a lot of like Cool Mini or Not Expo con exclusives, basically. So you're getting a whole bunch of like promos of a whole bunch of different stuff for going there that isn't available anywhere else yet. So
Wow.
for a bunch of their different games, they've got like a lot of promos for Zombicide and for Black Plague and for Rising Tide. So if you like Cool Mini or Not stuff, they throw it at you there.
Yeah.
So.
I love Cool Mini and that stuff.
Yeah. Apparently, if you make millions of dollars in a Kickstarter, you know how to make a swag bag. So
Not just once.
yeah,
Every time.
pretty much
Every
every time they don't
Yeah,
play.
pretty much every time.
So I think that's the first big convention we're going to as a group. And then we're doing several local stuff. And then Roy is definitely going to Gen Con. I can't because I'm helping create another Emerson. And I got to make sure her diapers are changed and stuff. So, yeah. Blood Rage, or not Blood Rage, sorry, I was thinking about what Tim's talking about. Gen Con happens a week before my Emerson gets here, and with good reason, I'm not allowed to leave the state that month. So
That's a good reason.
yeah.
Yeah. I know I told you on email, but congratulations, Rob. That's
Oh yeah,
awesome.
thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, and me and Rob are also going to the Dice Tower con.
Oh yeah,
so
that's right.
If
Yeah.
you make it there, Emerson, that would be super
I hope I can.
exciting.
Yeah.
That'd be super exciting.
I'll if I can go, I will find you guys.
Sweet. Yeah, that's my consolation for not being able to make Gen Con.
Yeah.
So, but I do have a question for you, Emerson, if we have time, or for Roy, if you have other questions.
You can go ahead and ask him.
Okay, so Emerson,
Yeah.
this is going to come across weird, and it's a multiple layered
no.
question.
I take it back. No, I'm just kidding.
No, here's the thing. You being a designer and also being in the board game community, you've seen the shift in what's kind of happening and the monopolies that are creating in these past couple of years, and you've also been affected by that. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but Cool Mini or Not just exclusively hired Eric Lang as their now game designer for their company. Like he's going to be the head of game development and stuff like that.
That's a smart yeah.
It is a very smart move. With that being the case, and NASCA kind of being like a hired gun, even though NASCA Games is a company, yet you've used NASCA Games as a property to sell through other distributors. Would you ever see, or would you ever want to be in a position to be monopolized with a company, or maybe not monopolized, but to be like a sole designer with a company? And on top of that question, where do you see the industry, and let's just say a year from now, because there's probably going to be big announcements at Gen Con, somebody else bought somebody else again, but like a lot has changed in these past couple years. Who would you work for? Would you be willing to do that? And where do you see the industry in a year from now, being that you kind of have that insider scoop?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll start with the first part is that who would I work for? And the answer to that is that I am working closely a lot with Plan B at the moment. So They're a new startup. They have incredibly talented staff, and they've, even though it's a new company, they've actually been around because they were formerly from F2Z Entertainment. They have a lot of experience in the industry, and they really know how to get something through distribution. They know every aspect of production. So I will be working closely with them, but I don't think I will be exclusive with them, as I still have ties to Plaid Hat Games. So I still have some projects that I'm working on with Plaid Hat, and I'm hoping that there'll be some future projects that I will be working on with them as well. Going forward, I do see that I may gravitate towards a couple of companies, but I think ultimately it's going to depend on what type of game I design. Because if, for instance, if I had a slapstick party game, it may not fit in, say, Plaid Hat's wheelhouse, which they focus a lot on the very thematic experiences, and it may and these games may not fit, say, Plan B. In which case, maybe I would go to R&R Games, or to some of my other connections that I have to say Arcane Wonders and so forth. So going forward, I don't think I will be tied to one particular company.
Yeah.
And I think Nazca Games is becoming more of a design studio that will be producing games. But there are companies that I will go to first, for sure. There are because I have a rapport with certain companies, and they're, like, for instance, Plaid Hat. I always cherish the opportunity to work with those guys. So. Where do I see the industry in a year? I don't think there's going to be, I don't have any inside information, but it's hard to imagine anyone else getting bought out by Asmodee. I think at the moment, I think CMON is probably the next largest company outside of Asmodee. So I don't think CMON's going to get acquired anytime soon. I don't think, but this is all speculation on my part. Yeah. But from what I have seen in terms of some of Asmodee's other acquisitions, it doesn't actually seem like Asmodee. They are one large company, but when I was in Italy last month, it was beginning of last month. When I saw Asmodee Italy. So I was actually in the booth with Asmodee Italy, and it was actually a company formerly known as Asterium, and even though they're now known as Asmodee Italy, and it was acquired, but just from the conversations I had with them, it seems like Asmodee is really just taking like the best of what those companies do and telling them just keep doing all the great stuff that you've been doing. And even though there's probably, I suspect there's probably more structure being involved with a larger corporation.
Sure.
It seems like the heart and soul of that company, of Asterium, is still the same. Like, it's still the same staff there.
So it's more or less like Asmodee is pretty much handling distribution and sales, where the studios still get to be creative.
Right.
So do they get to veto, or not that you would know or anything like that, but you might know. And this was not a question that was slided just towards Asmodee, but they are the big monopoly out there right now. Right. Do they have the power to veto some creative ideas? Like, for example, your Spice Road, we've talked about in the past.
Okay.
Is that something that, like, you as Nazca Games, that makes you worrisome, where they could veto something because, or is that just not their thing at all? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, from my impression is that it's not something. I don't think Asmodee is there to actually squash any creativity. Okay. And it seems like they're acquiring companies that, that I think just fit into their portfolio, or at least it seems that way. Is that they're acquiring all these big companies, but from when I had talked to Colby from Plaid Hat, it seems like they're letting the studios run fairly autonomously. Like they put a corporate structure around it, but the studios still do what they've been doing. So I think they're taking the strengths of each of the studios and just fostering that type of environment that they're most comfortable with. So now that being said, I'm sure Asmodee has quite a bit of power, but I think the muscle is really in their influence over the distribution, all the distribution channels.
Nice.
So currently, there's nothing that I worry about as Nazca Games, aside from, say, someone coming up with a game idea that's exactly like what I have, but that rarely ever happens. So, in the short term or in the near future for board games, I mean, it's looking very bright. I mean, there's a ton of creativity out there. There's always designers that are trying to come up with like really new, innovative, creative ideas.
Yeah.
And I think because the community out there is so strong and everyone's incredibly supportive out there, it's at least within the foreseeable future, it seems like it is going to be an industry that's going to keep growing and growing. Now, that being said, I think the folks that may have the hardest time are the small companies. So actually, I had a discussion with a Hungarian podcast yesterday in regards to the small companies, and I think they're going to have the most difficult time in that because the market has grown and there's probably more consumers of board games now than before. At least from it seems like it's board games have just exploded,
right?
And the consumer base has grown and grown and grown. But I do feel like that the number of small companies that are now producing games has grown faster than the consumers, that market has grown. And that, I see new companies like all the time. There's new companies popping up everywhere with new games. And now there's more games that are produced than ever before. And I'm not sure if the current market can really absorb all that new product that's coming out. Now, I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing, because then that just, as a consumer, you have so many choices of good games, and the bar has been set pretty high in terms of what is a good game nowadays.
Right.
So what's a good game now would have been like a phenomenal game, 5-10 years ago. So, but at the same time, I think it's going to be very tough for like the small publishers and small companies that are getting into the industry.
Cool.
So if there was a negative, I would say that would be the negative, is that it's now become a very difficult industry to break into for the small guy.
Well, and that's why I'm going to do my prototype through Nazca, through Plaid Hat, through other stuff.
Absolutely.
By the way.
Hey, if you ever have a prototype, let me know.
I'm working on one.
I want to play test.
I'm working on one. We already play tested it. I've already made a lot of notes, and we broke it in all the right ways, and awesome. Which that's good though. I mean, you need to break it if it's broken. So so I'm excited for it.
Awesome.
I'll send it to you eventually.
Awesome.
You get ready by
Q4 2020.
No, I'll be ready before then. I'm not patient enough to wait that long.
That is true.
So as a designer, when you go to different conventions and stuff like that, what is your primary focus when you're going around all these different places?
Well, usually, before when I was at conventions, it was more just to like enjoy the convention, and sometimes I would have my own booth at the convention.
Yeah.
So it was really just about running the booth, and then after the exhibit hall is closed, just going out, having fun, hanging out with people. But nowadays, with the conventions, I have more of a schedule of, these are the people I'm planning to meet, and discussing, certain things. So it's starting to become a little bit, it's like 50-50 business and pleasure,
Gotcha. Do you do lots of like trying to pitch your games to different publishers and stuff like that as you go around, or?
No, it's my experience is I've only actually ever pitched to Plaid Hat. I have not pitched to, actually, I have shown a game to Arcane Wonders, but in terms of pitching, I've only actually pitched to Plaid Hat Games.
Gotcha.
So it's one of those funny things that I don't have a whole lot of experience with pitching. So, and I do get asked from the designers, like, what is the best way to pitch or to approach the publishers. And I wish I had more experience to be able to instill into them, but it's one of those areas that, I guess I'm spoiled in that way, in that I've only had really just one contact in terms of pitching games to.
Gotcha. Awesome. Cool. So, what epic game are we gonna play this year that you're gonna yell at Matt at, like you did last year?
Let's do something epic. Maybe do Twilight Imperium 3.
Yes.
Aw, man, please don't play that while I'm not there. Let it be something
All right, we'll have to
boring,
wait till
like
Bob's
Go
there.
Fish or something.
Well, I don't think we'd ever have time to play Twilight Imperium at Gen Con. That would take up half the convention. Gen Con is Twilight Imperium 3 is barely a con game, but I know that that Sam plays a game of Twilight Imperium at Dice Tower Con like every year. So,
Okay.
so
We
who
have,
knows?
we have to get Steve Avery in there as well.
Man, that'd be ridiculous.
Yeah.
It'd
I'm
be something
excited.
crazy, like play Happy Salmon with like pool noodles or something weird.
Happy Salmon Legacy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That would be great.
You all have knives, mostly so we can see the scars.
No.
Man.
Awesome. So once upon a time, even last Gen Con, there was such a thing as a SpectreOps app. Is there any update with the application for SpectreOps?
Yes, it's one of those things I really want to be able to get the time to devote to finishing that up at the moment, because I am obligated to deliver the rest of the Century series and some other projects that I'm working on that I can't divulge all the details of.
Lost in Space.
So there are, I have other obligations that
He didn't say no, and he said yeah. Just saying.
I'm not allowed to.
Q4 2020.
I'm not at liberty to say, but there's and because of that, it's because I'm like running into like a lot of the deadlines. I've really had to put that one on hold for the time being, because I'm struggling to kind of keep pace with the projects that I do have on my plate at the moment.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what we need publishers to pay Emerson more money so he can do board games full time, so that way we can get all the Emerson goodness. So
That'll come in due time. I just need to make
awesome.
So,
Cool.
but,
So I think when we were showing off the SpectreOps app at Gen Con this year, everything looked amazing. So I'm like, how is it not out yet? Like, it looks so good.
no, it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's torturous because I feel like it's 80% of the way there, right? So it has 4 more equipment cards that need to be programmed in, and it just needs the replay feature, the zoom feature, and there was like one replay feature, zoom feature, and an undo button feature.
Gotcha.
And it will be pretty much set to go. Oh, and the 5-player. It needs support for the 5-player version.
Gotcha.
So, but it's just really close, and I just feel like I just need to just hunker down, get it done. But because I have like deadlines that I need to meet, like for instance, like for Century, I've been given these are the deadlines that I need to hit in order for the next games to go out at get into distribution on time and everything like that. So
awesome.
it's just been a big challenge, just time management wise.
Well, it will be here someday.
No excuses. What? Who said that?
Awesome. So for anybody who's trying to design a game, do you have any tips for first-time designers?
Yes, hold on. Let me get my pen. Hold on. Okay, go ahead.
Tips
It's not
for
like we record
first time-
this.
Tips for first time. I have a ton of things I want to say to like first time designers, and one of the things is, people say. I think one of the things that a lot of seasoned designers would tell first time designers is to constantly playtest. So I think I'll pick something else. For first time designers, I would tell them that don't be afraid to change things. Be really, really bold with just changing stuff and trying it. You have like a whim, like, hey, maybe this might be fun, just try it. So try to come up with a prototype as quickly as you can. I'm always a proponent of the fail quickly methodology. So you want, or fail fast.
Already got that down.
So, and just try lots of different things and just try to be as creative as possible. Because sometimes you'll find those happy accidents.
Well, my idea was an original spin-off for Spectrops 2, and I know you can neither confirm nor deny that it's coming out, but it's coming. And so I had to... My theme is a little different, but the idea is still kind of the same, because it's sort of hidden movement, but it's not hidden movement, but it is. Like, you don't see the character unless you physically see the character. But like, if I don't know, it's hidden movement, but it's weird. It's like, like when you play Zombicide, you know where the bad guys are on the board all the time.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
This is not like that, where the bad guy could be moving throughout all these buildings and you have no idea where he is until he pops out on the street, and that's where you guys see him, type of a thing. And so, but now I kind of changed up the theme where there's guys with powers and stuff like that, and so it's kind of crazy. I'm excited to try it out.
I love powers, so more powers in all the games all the time.
But the security guards don't get extra powers, and they can't use medical packs because they're stupid. I wrote that in the notes.
Okay.
So how do you go about balancing games, Emerson? Like with different powers and different things like that. How do you figure out a good balance in between different sides? Is it just playing over and over and tweaking again and again and again?
Oh, playtesting is a really, really big part of that. But before I playtest, I actually just do a round of, I call it mathing it out, but there's not so much a whole lot of math. But what I'll do is I'll spreadsheet stuff out. So I'll have like a list of pros and cons, or advantages, disadvantages. So every power has an advantage in certain situations. What is the numerical value of those advantages? Each power has disadvantages, and what's the numerical value of those? And you go across all the different powers, and if you just kind of number it out, and it could be subjective too. You could just kind of eyeball and says, I think this is a value of 11 over here. Oh, the disadvantage is 5 over here. And then another power could have an advantage of 20, but have a disadvantage of 12. So that's a 7 versus this 5 over here. Okay, so maybe this one's a little bit more powerful. I know it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but
so you just kind of give all your different powers like ratings. You're like, I rate this whatever out of whatever out of 20, and this one has this out of this, and these are, and you try to determine what situations they'll be good in. That's kind of interesting, because I've never heard anybody talk about it like that before. So that's pretty interesting.
I'll use SpectreOps as an example, where for instance, an agent with a specific power, let's say for instance like the flashbang, right? So that will allow you. So on average, almost 100% of the time you'll hit one of the hunters, and over several games you'll have a 50% chance of hitting both the hunters when you use it. And by doing so, you'll get like a 4 movement advantage where they'll have no information, and so you can. And I use the flashbang as sort of like the basis for how I evaluate all the other ones as well. So that flashbang probably would have saved you maybe 1.5 hit points worth if you use at the right time, or it can only be half a hit points worth when it's used probably not as optimally. So, and also, like the character's special abilities, because they're sort of like on an ongoing basis, I can't make each of those abilities as powerful as one flashbang on a continuous basis.
Yeah.
So, and also each ability, I remember with SpectreOps, when I did the possibilities, like I had to try to come up with just a roundabout percentage chance of an agent being able to escape with 2 hunters within close proximity. And just the number of possible, so I did on a 4x4 grid, like the number of possible places where the hunters could stand to get line of sight, and then all the possible places where the agent could hide to not be in line of sight. So I took note of all those different kind of combinations, and also the places where the structures are All right. I know I'm sounding like a complete
No, not at all.
geek here, but
This is absolutely fascinating.
so where the buildings can be alters, like what are the possibilities? So based on that, in a two-player game with 200s within close proximity, it was like a 62% chance. I know this. I feel like they were. I'll talk about an off-topic thing in a little bit, but I find what I think is sort of like the baseline for what they should be, what the agent and the hunters should be able to do at any given point. And so once I have that baseline, it's a lot easier to figure out, okay, well, this power, it messes up or it alters that baseline by a certain percent, or it gives one team a percentage chance higher. So for instance, like a hunter with clairvoyance has like a 25% increased chance of being able to determine where or at least within a quadrant proximity, where the agent could have gone.
Yeah.
Right. And so I didn't say clairvoyance. That's not a new ability that's developed at all.
Don't read into it.
We'll just say
just happens to be a word in the English language.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So so understanding what your baseline is for your game, and once you add in those abilities, you just see how much it alters from that baseline. And that's where it helps in terms of the balancing. And I know it's probably a super long-winded answer to your very, very simple question of how to balance, but I always try to figure out if there's a way to determine what is that numerical baseline in the game.
So if you have a game that has like numerical values in it anyway, how do you go about balancing those, especially like for the first time? Like there was a game I was working on and I have just gotten stuck at this, like I need to assign like this card is worth 3 points, that one's worth 5, or just stuff like that. It seems very odd to just throw numbers out and go, that didn't work.
Well, some games are definitely a lot easier than others. Like Spectre Ops was definitely a challenge in that I know I don't have the math correct, because it's really hard to determine what that mathematical model looks like. But so it was more just a whole lots of guesstimates and then playtesting to confirm that I'm kind of on the right track. And then there are other games, like for instance, Spice Road is actually mathematically very, very simple in that all the cubes have sort of an intrinsic value, and then the victory point cards reflect those intrinsic values. Where the math gets a little bit trickier is that you're on a player's turn, what you want to break it down to is that each of your actions has a certain value to it, and you want to maximize your value per action. So then you try your atomic unit of measurement becomes that one action, and what can you achieve within that one action becomes now your baseline. So with one action, I can increase the value of my cubes by 3, so that becomes like your baseline. So most of your actions will get you 3. If it goes higher than that, could it be overpowered? Maybe. If it goes lower than that, is it too underpowered? Maybe. But in Caravan or Spice Road, the cards will actually vary in value depending on the situation too.
Gotcha.
But if you're very mathematically minded, you could figure all that out as you play.
Okie dokie.
That's definitely awesome. The more Emerson talks, the more I feel less and less like I can design a game. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Actually,
Emerson's just
like
on a tier up here of game design, so high.
I 100% agree, and so that's why I'm only going to use now like his boards and his schematics for demo stuff, because I know it's going to be like right on.
It's because I've been in software development for so long that I have a tendency, and this is a real bad habit of mine, I have a tendency to make things sound way more complicated than it really is.
Yeah, next time we do my prototype run through, it will be on the Spectre Ops board now. Just now that I know it's all like mathematically there and good, I'm good.
Well, you still got to balance every single power with all the different things.
Yeah.
For me, whenever I was doing a game, I just played the game over and over and over again. And if somebody said something was broken, I would look into it and try to fix that.
Right.
So.
No, I mean, there's still a lot of. I mean, I'm not a mathematician, but I have some friends who are mathematicians, so they understand this stuff much better than I do. So for me, I still do a whole lot of, fly by the seat of your pants, design decisions. in my games. So,
Well, see, that's what I like about my idea. It's fast. Each side has 1 minute to complete theirs. So, like all of the hunters that are chasing down the monster, if your team is 2 people or your team is up to 4 people, everybody together has to complete all their moves in that 1 minute. So it's not like 1 minute per player. No, your team gets 1 minute to play down their cards, to be able to make their movements, to do their stuff. So it's
Real
an
time.
action time. It's real time. Like, crap, we need to do this. And if you already laid down your card, well, I can't do that action now because that action was on that card. And then the monster has the ability to. They have 1 minute because they have some powers that allows them to do more stuff. Since it's like one versus many type of a thing, but it's real quick and it's only 30 rounds.
Hey Rob, have you ever played a video game called Evolve?
Oh yeah, that's kind of the idea.
Okay, yeah, because I was like, that sounds. I thought that Evolve, that video game, would be an awesome hidden movement game because it's really the reverse. The hunters are the ones that are hunting in the beginning, but the hidden player is going around trying to, in a way, level up, right?
Oh yeah,
to the point where they become strong enough to be able to then take on the hunted or the hunters that are hunting in the beginning. I thought that would be an awesome premise. So when you said the hunters against the monster, that immediately triggered that thought that I thought that would be an awesome theme and just the core for an awesome game there.
Well, my idea in the Spectre Ops world was that Raxxon was creating more hunters. No, the Raxxon is the hunters or they're the agents? No, they're the hunters.
They're the hunters, yeah.
Raxxon was creating more hunters, but an experiment went wrong, and there was a big explosion. And so the media and the world is now coming on to find out. Like, in 30 rounds, there's going to be all of these news people outside. And the whole point for the monster is just to survive. They know that they'll probably die, but if they can at least get outside by round 30 or just survive, somebody from the media will get a camera on them to figure out how evil Raxxon really is. And so it was the idea of like these hunters, these more evolved, crazy hunters, getting out and trying to do some pretty messed up stuff.
Crazy.
That sounds pretty cool to me.
But it was that with Evolve, because I have not played Evolve, the video game. I know the concept of it, and it always sounded cool. I could just never get people to play it.
Yeah. Because you needed, 3 other people on the hunters side of the team, and then there's one person who plays the, Yeah.
So.
Awesome.
I like that me and you basically started to try and design the same game and went in complete opposite directions with it.
Yeah.
Well, my first idea was the whole murder, like Friday Night the 13th.
Yeah.
Like last Friday?
Mm-hmm.
That was such a terrible game.
We started planning it, and then Roy was like, guys, check this game out. And we were like, well, I guess we'll just throw this in the garbage. And then we played it, and we were like, well, let's get our game back out.
A funny thing is that a friend of mine was actually working on like a slasher, or it's a slasher themed game.
Mm-hmm.
It probably had some hidden, movement elements in there too. So, how often do you think it happens where designers are working on very similar concepts?
More often than we know.
Probably a lot. I mean, there's so many games that are in sort of the same theme, and I think it works out fine as long as they don't come out like the exact same time, Then they're probably going to be more competing with each other. But if people are a fan of that theme or a fan of that thing, if they come out staggered 6 months to a year apart, people that are a fan of that theme will probably pick up both of them, So I think timing of when games come out is really a big deal too.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
So, awesome. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about or promote before we get off the podcast? We've been doing this for quite a while now.
Episode 88, the Avery attack.
In terms of anything to promote, I feel like, since we talked about Crossfire and we talked about Century Spice Road, I feel like all of my bases are covered at this point. But it's if I could say something, it's if anyone out there is going to like Origins or Gen Con, I would strongly urge them to come by, say hi. If you guys out there, if you ever get a chance to meet the Epic Gaming Night podcast crew in the flesh, definitely go up to them, say hi, tell them how awesome their podcast is. They're a fun bunch of guys to hang out with.
I still think one of the main reasons we are so excited and continue to do this podcast is because the very first Gen Con where me and Rob are standing there and Emerson Matsuchi recognized us. He was like, "Oh yeah, I've listened to your podcast."
Oh, that's right, yeah.
I think stuff like that, and then when Isaac came on and gave us a ton of encouragement, stuff like that helps. We're all fans of each other in the industry, and I think it helps encourage each other to keep at what we're doing. So it means a lot to us.
Yeah, and I know I mentioned this to you guys before that it's the designers, we design the games, we make we try to make the games fun and everything like that. Mm-hmm. But without people who are evangelizing those games and getting the word out there and sharing that passion, we definitely wouldn't be, the industry wouldn't be where it is without that. And I think that's the single biggest driver. Mm-hmm. People who are like you guys, like Mark Street, Rodney Smith, Tom Vassell. I can go on and on, Dan King. I can go on and on about all the people who have such a strong passion that make this industry grow and just make board gaming grow.
Well, you guys make it easy.
Just keep making amazing games, and it's easy to shout them out. So.
Yeah,
I'll keep trying. We will keep trying.
Awesome. Well, this has been a podcast. We stream these at Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure to check us out at youtube.com/Epic Gaming Night. Emerson, thanks so much for coming on. Where can they find you if they're looking for your stuff or more information about what's going on at NASCA?
Oh, okay. So I'm on Twitter at NASCA Games, and on Facebook, Facebook/NASCA Games. I need to really put up a decent website. I haven't gotten around to doing that. So, and you can always reach me at nascagames@gmail.com as well. So feel free to reach out to me if you guys have any questions. And Roy, thanks again for inviting me on this awesome podcast. Rob, you've got a question. I could see it on your face.
I was just going to say Spectre Ops app before website, please.
Yes. That's why the website won't be done for quite a while.
Awesome. Well, we want to thank our amazing patrons from Patreon again for helping support our show and helping make Epic Gaming Night even better. And Emerson, now you get to witness the amazing thing that Rob's been doing on the podcast. And Rob's going to give a shout out.
Only one thing has been good that I've been doing, but I do it well.
Is it misconstruing genders?
So Rob, could you recognize our patron of the week?
Yes, I can. First of all, do you guys know what the largest organ is on your body?
The skin?
It is the skin.
Yes.
It is the skin. And this gentleman, or female, but if this is a female, I'm sorry. I'm just going to go with the male side of this. But this gentleman, Andrew Skinner, has got the biggest heart that I have ever grown to witness. Andrew Skinner, you are the creme de la creme. Lotion puts you on. You don't have to put lotion on. Lotion puts you on, sir. Your skin, your face, your wallet, your money, everything is so smooth. It slides right on in. You are the fantasies that keep us up at night. You are the dreams that we don't want to wake up from. You are that wood chip smelling cologne that is going to sell out in pre-orders before it even comes out. You're Andrew. You are the A to our alphabet. You start it all. You go as long as possible. You are Andrew Skinner, and we appreciate you, and we thank you, and thanks for putting up with us. You are amazing, kind sir. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate you being a part of the Board Game Society. We appreciate you hanging out with EGN, and for putting up with all of our beards and multicolored hairs and our crazy guests and stuff like that. But Andrew Skinner, I'm a dream about you tonight, big guy. Mwah.
And now that you've scared off any future patrons.
And real quick, if Andrew Skinner, if you're a female, I'll probably still dream about you, but as if you were a male.
Not sure if that's better or worse. But
Yeah.
We did this one episode where the name was kind of gender neutral, and so ever since then I've just...
It's been like the last 3 episodes. They've been sort of gender neutral, like
except for
Sean,
this.
Aaron.
Yeah.
Things that could really go either way.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for tuning into the podcast again. Make sure to hit us up on Instagram and Twitter at Epic Gaming Night. And thanks again, Emerson, so much for sticking around with us
Yes.
through all our
guys.
silliness. And super hope we get to see you at some awesome conventions this year.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Emerson, you're amazing, kind sir. And don't go, because we're going to do that after show talk where you tell us all that stuff that you can't say on air.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Oh, boy.
Awesome.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Now we just wait awkwardly while the outro music plays, and we talk over it.
No,
Because
I decided
it's
that I'm going to
music.
just add in the outro music afterwards because it kept just
Aw.
not timing properly every time.
There you go.
But yeah, chat's been pretty crazy tonight.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
man.
Chat's been all over the place. It's been great.
Yeah.
When you guys mentioned the gender confusion, it reminded me of a time when I was working at Merrill Lynch. So Rob got that right. So I was
Yes,
working
sir.
at Merrill Lynch, and I was exchanging emails with someone from a different department in terms of like reporting, like trade reporting or whatever. And at the bottom, it would always say Valerie. So I could swear it was a woman, right? So it was Valerie Krasonsky. So, but when I called her on the phone, or what I thought was a her on the phone, the other person would pick up and says, in a really, really deep voice, "This is Valerie Krasonsky. May I help you?" I was like, "Oh, you're not a woman." Hmm. So nowadays you can never tell.
Oh, boy.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did you make Mark an admin as well?
It's for the my battles, man.
Oh, snap.
Dang it! This messed up. I was trying to make it so that. So
Oh,
now they
man.
can't. Now they can't ban each other. That's lame.
No, you did that. That's your fault.
But you can ban both of them.
You're right.
Well, can we ban everybody so we can get to that good stuff?
I can ban everybody.
Well, we just need to drop the live chat.
Okay. Awesome,
Sorry,
guys. Well,
guys.
thanks everybody in live chat. You guys are awesome, and I will see
Tim, you
you
do not get a
guys
wrench
next
even if you do
time.
win, and you will never win, Tim. You are so going down. I'm so excited to destroy you at your game. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Peace.